Saluting again, welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Vergil's third Eclogue. This time it's going to be lines 72 through 77, but first, last time in the Eclogue. Here is our rubric. Let's go ahead and get started. O quotiens et quae nobis Galatea locuta est. Partem aliquam venti divum referatis ad auris. Quid prodest quod me ipse animo non spernis aminta, si dum tu sectaris apros ego retia servo. Filida mitte mihi meus est natalis Iola, cum faciam vitula pro frugibus ipse veneto. So we have Demoitus's next attempt at poetry or singing, and we have just a normal exclamation. We would see this often in referring to vocative names, but in this case it's just an exclamation to emphasize what comes next, which is quotiens, an adverb, which means how often, how many times. Et quae nobis. Here we have a verb with locuta est. Since we have the a in this periphrastic verb, we know that Galatea, that is going to be our nominative singular subject. And this is, as I said, periphrastic. Since it's paired with est, we know that this is going to be the perfect form, that this is from locor, which is deponent. So third singular because est, feminine because of Galatea, and the form, the first half of the periphrastic. Perfect deponent indicative means to speak, to tell, and then it's going to want to take a dative, which we find here with nobis, so dative, plural, common, and then quae with the ae is going to be accusative, plural, neuter is the object, what is spoken. Moving on in then to the next line, we see partem aliquam with the em and the am. We know that these are both going to be accusative singulars. Partem is feminine, but we can only tell that because of the a of this adjective modifying it. Accusative singular feminine. And then venti is set off with commas by the editors, and it will turn out that was correct choice with the I. Could be genitive singular or could be nominative plural. Genitive owning this doesn't make much sense, especially since we've got divum here, which is a very unusual form for normal Latin. This is from divus, I think it's US that it ends. It's a form of deus, God, and the om is just a unusual genitive plural masculine. So venti shouldn't be owning these. Instead, divum should be owning both of these. So some part of God's. Referatis, got atis for the second person. Sinu. Refero, referar. No, refero. Referas, referat, referatis. Referamos, referatis, referat. Mixing up my own forms. Plural is the actual form. Present, because it's the present stem. Active and indicative. Sorry, I'm trying to talk quietly. This is normal business hours in the library. Trying not to disturb anybody outside of my office. Ad auris, here we have the is with a preposition that wants to take an accusative. Is is the wrong form, so we know that this is one of the times where Vergil is writing in the is when the actual form is es. So this is an accusative, plural, feminine. Takes accusative, and these are ears. Then we go back to wenti. What's this doing? Well, this is from venio, venire, veni, ventum. So with the T, this tells us that it's the perfect passive participle form. I tells us the case, number, and gender. We've already got our subject in you plural. Who you plural is, I have no idea. There's not really a clue here. Refero means to bring back. It could be that referatus, the you, is venti. However, this is perfect passive. Venio means to come. So how do you change that into the passive form? I'm not entirely sure. So what might be happening is it might be that Vergil is using this passive form to give an active meaning, but since there is no perfect active participle, he just has to use the perfect passive, and we understand from the context. But suffice it to say, this is going to be a vocative or nominative. It means having come, maybe having been brought, would be a way that we could read it. Yeah, it's a mystery, but I think I'm going to have to treat it as a passive functioning actively in meaning. So, having come, you bring back some part of the gods to our ears. So I suppose it could be Galatia, but Galatia is feminine. It's Lukuta, also singular, so that doesn't make much sense. So I think the next best option is to take a look at what Demoitis said last time. So, for my Venus, there are gifts brought, for even I have noted I myself place, to which airy wood pigeons gather nest. So, yeah, that doesn't help. No context. I have no idea who's talking. Sorry. Then we move on into Menalcus's lines. We get quid prodest. So this is going to be from prodsum, or maybe it's just prosum. The D might not appear until there are vowels. Est is third singular, present tense, active, and indicative, and it means to be useful. You get the preposition pro for the sake of, it is for the sake of, it is useful for. Then quid is going to be, well, with the third nominative, singular, neuter from quis quid. It is an indirect question word, but we get the present here, which is interesting. And then we move into the next clause. We've got quod again, which is another accusative, singular, neuter. And then may we'll have to come back to. Here we find our subject with ipse for nominative, singular, masculine, from ipse, ipsa, ipsum. Anima we'll come back to, and here is our verb, sperno, spernis. Is is going to then be the second person singular, present stem, active, indicative, and as you recall, it means to spurn, to reject, to despise, which you despise, which you yourself despise, not despise. And so then the question is, or is it a question? What is necessary? What is useful? Which, and I think me is going to have to be ablative. So ablative of accompaniment, ablative, I forget what possibility would work here, but with me, I think, is how we would have to translate it into English. And then animo is going to be another ablative. And the green and yellow suggests something along the lines of he's not present, as we'll see from this line, but instead he is here in spirit. So another ablative, singular, masculine, non-negating that. And then aminta here with A is going to be vocative, singular, masculine, the one to whom he is speaking. As if you recall, and here's hoping that I recall from a month ago, Amintas has been rejecting him. So here we are. So I think the idea would be what is needful, which you yourself will not spurn in spirit with me, Amintas. But they don't have a question mark, which confuses me. So I don't know. Moving on to the next one. If, doom, while, to, subject again, so don't need to parse that. Sectaris, this is from sector, it's a deponent, and it means to run after. So sector, sectari, This is indicative. Oris is going to be the second person singular, which goes with to. Present stem, deponent. And then apros with os is the direct object of sector, and that is from oper, just means wild boars, so accusative, plural. Oh, and then this half of it. Ego, emphatic subject, retia, and servo. Servo is obviously our verb. It's the first principal part, so we don't need to parse that. Instead, retia, this is from, I'm going to guess, retium. I didn't see the nominative when I didn't look at the nominative, is what I should say, and remember it. But it is a accusative, plural, neuter, and it means nets. So this is a hunting party that he's going after, and the green and yellow says that the one who stays to guard the nets, in this case that's what servo means, to guard, to maintain anything that they've caught, and to keep other wild animals or the hunting dogs from eating it. For someone to volunteer to do that is an act of love for the beloved. And then for the last one of the video today, we get a name. And fortunately, this one was very easy to find. The green and yellow actually supplied it to me. So it comes from the Greek word phoulis, phoulidos. So this is the genitive. And at least in Greek, it's feminine. I'm thinking that it might actually be masculine in use here. And it means, of all things, salad or foliage. So there we have our verb, mito, mittere. So since we have the E, which is the stem plus the connecting vowel, this is going to be the second person singular imperative, present imperative, to me, dative singular. And then the colon, as an editorial decision, shows us the cause, which makes sense. Meos est natalis. US tells us that natalis is going to be nominative, singular, masculine of the third declension. They're the most likely option. It is my birthday. I don't remember, though, birthday celebrations being that big of a thing in ancient Rome. So another option is Philidus is my birth mate, sibling. We could read it that way. If that is the case, then we do need to take Philida as masculine, but I don't think that one makes as much sense. And then we have Yola, which is another name. Philida, because of this is going to be accusative singular. Masculine, feminine, I don't know for sure. And then Yola, vocative, singular, masculine. And this one I couldn't find anything about. I couldn't determine if it's from Greek or if there's anything from Latin that gives us the origin of this. About all I can say is that Yola is probably another authority figure, possibly another master to these two slaves. And it's possible that part of the name comes from Eos, which is poison, because this is in one of, I think, Pliny's writings. I wasn't able to find the location that the lexicon referred to, but it is the name of a healer. And my initial thought is seeing this is like Eos. Well, then what's with the los? Because it's Eolas is the nominative. Could be that it's Eos, luo, to loose poison, to destroy poison. This is a great name for a healer. The problem with that is there wouldn't be two L's, and it wouldn't end in AS. It would be, you'd have to do like Yoluas for the name. I suppose the first L could come from the sigma changing. But that's guesswork. Maybe Yos. I don't know. So that one is another one that could not determine. Then moving on, cum faciam, you have the am cum clause. This is facio, so with the am, it's either first person singular future, indicative, or it's first person singular present subjunctive. While while I do, or when being circumstantial, I make. The vitula has to be ablative because we've already got our subject. This is a feminine noun, so ablative, singular, feminine. It's a heifer. It's a sacrifice. Prepositional phrase, pro frugibus. This is from frux, frugus. It means the produce of the land, the fruits. It can also mean legumes, beans. So for the sake of plus ablative, plural, feminine. And what the green and yellow suggests is going on with vitula pro frugibus, the verb, is that he's saying, I will sacrifice, or when I sacrifice a heifer for the harvest. And I don't remember what the name of the harvest is, and sometimes what the green and yellow says is the name of a harvest is not what's listed when you actually try to look it up, like its secondary name. But it's one that happens right before the harvest, and this is actually a dig against Menalcas, because during the festival there is no intercourse allowed. So there's that. Then we come to this interesting part, ipse venito. The ito right there is either a second person or a third person singular, future, active, imperative. Ipse, of course, nominative, singular, masculine. Ipse could be referring to Iola. That doesn't make much sense. Ipse could refer to Philida, if Philida is a man. Ipse could refer to Philida if Philida is a woman, as you can use the nominative form, not the nominative, the masculine forms of pronouns for women, but that's not usual. So this is another instance, like the previous one, where I don't know who he's talking about. And the context doesn't really help, because it's not going to be Galatia, and it's not going to be whoever the Wenti are, because they're plural. So I will write down what I know, and I will make some guesswork. So it occurred to me that there's a third option, that ipse could be referring to the festival, let it come quickly, being the idea, so that Phyllis can be sent to him, and so that Menalcas can be prevented from his desire, which only wins points for Demoitus's vying for the prize of this poetry or singing. But I don't know. Those are the three options. Beats me. Well, let's take a look at this in its own context. Quote marks. Always forgetting those. Oh, how often and what things to us Galatea has told. Some part, you or we having come, of the vine you bring back to ears. What is useful, which with or from me you yourself in spirit do not spurn, amintas, if while you yourself chase boars, I myself guard nets. Send to me Phyllis, it is my birthday, Iolus, when I sacrifice heifer before harvest time. Let something come. All right, well, thank you very much. Hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very good day. Voila.